grab my gear, load the truck. Heading out, don't give a truck. Rifles locked, boots tied tight. Gonna catch that deer all through the night. Hunting in the highland hill, chasing dreams and catching thrills. The wind is howling, the game is near. In the woods, our favorite place, my dear. Hunting in the highland hill.
Good afternoon, this is David T from Field Sports Scotland, and it is a little bit rainy outside. It is roasting warm, but it's rainy, and I will be out this afternoon doing some stalking. But before I did that, I got asked to talk a little bit about suppressors, moderators, silencers, whatever you want to call it, and genuinely the different styles and what you need to kind of know about them. Now, we tend to forget about this little item. It's, well, little item, it's actually quite a big item. Genuinely, this is a Stalin W110 moderator. I have this on my 6.5 Creedmoor. Now, moderators are kind of forgotten about. They're used as a kind of attachment. They're looked at as just, this is what we need to use and this is what we need to do, so that genuinely what they basically, people tend to not really look at it and just think, oh, well, I'll just get a 30 cal moderator that fits, has the right thread for my rifle, and pretty much gets on with it until the moderator does something wrong. And, well, it can be catastrophic. And I've had a couple of people recently who have had these, not the Stalin one, not the Stalin one, I've not heard any problems with the Stalin one, but I've heard quite a few people have had their moderators blow. One was a house skin and the other one was hardy. So I'm going to talk about the different styles of moderators, how kind of moderators work a little bit, and the kind of legislation over them as well, because depending on what part of the world you're at, these are seen. This little can is made up of one or two little components, but nothing that is mechanical. Has a little bit of controversy in some countries because they believe it makes your rifle silent. We're going to explore that and terminology as well, because a lot of people get confused in regards to the terminology on silencer, and that's why we tend to use the word moderator in this country. The thing about it is when Maxim, back in 1904, created the first sound moderator, or what he called the silencer, he also created, at the exact same time, is it for mufflers for exhausts, so it's quieting down exhausts on cars. So, on motorcycles, I think it was. I don't know the full history on it. I kind of know the base knowledge of where it came from, and it has developed over the years to being more of a kind of technical device on your rifle. And people underestimate the actual, what can I say, the actual ability of these to affect your shooting. How it can actually improve your shooting. In many ways it can cause problems with your shooting if not installed properly or the wrong moderator is put in place. But it is a very technical device on your rifle, and people underestimate it and they tend to forget about it, and they tend to not think that this might be the solution or the problem of their rifle shooting. So there's many types of moderators. Most that we see in this country are reflex mods. They kind of slip over the barrel and the screw is in, so we've got an area of that allows the gas suppression to come back, and that is slipped over the barrel, and then we pretty much only have the front half off that is actually allowing the bullet to go through it and the suppression to go backwards. And how a moderator works, it works using baffles. I've separated one here. I'm not allowed to show you me separating moderators or putting them on barrels or anything like that because of the new YouTube rules, but I can show you what they actually look like. And so we've got a little titanium suppressor, a little titanium DPD baffle here. Here is the standard steel one. They've got a little kind of cone-shaped bit in the middle here. It allows for the bullet to go through. These join together and makes up a different... Now, I'm not joining it together just for YouTube. I'm just saying that these join together, and what it does is it creates levels of gas suppression as the bullet throughs. So whether you're shooting subsonic or supersonic, you will find if you take your moderator or suppressor off, even with a subsonic, you'll still get that little kind of hypersonic pump. Well, it's not hypersonic, obviously, but you'll still get that little bang. And that is the noise, and you might get a little bit of a muzzle flash as well. So the suppressor does or the moderator does two jobs. First of all, it reduces the noise that comes out of the muzzle of the barrel after the multiple explosions that are happening in the barrel. So when a bullet's primer is struck, that creates a small explosion, then creates a bigger explosion, in which propels the bullet down the barrel. However, it also propels the gases and everything that has come up from the burnt out powder and from the charge from the primer. So those gases also push your head down the barrel and out to whatever its proper speeds. And the suppressor's main job is to control, firstly, the noise, but secondly, the amount of pressure and the amount of gases that are going down the barrel, following that bullet out, which creates a muzzle flash. So it takes away the muzzle flash as well as slows down the speed of those gases, so it makes less noise when it comes out the muzzle. And that is pretty much it. We have, as I said, reflex mods are the most common in the UK, but we also have moderators, bayonet moderators that go straight onto the barrel, and it's pretty much the whole tube is your moderator. So that goes onto the muzzle of your, onto the thread of your barrel, covers the muzzle just slightly, and then runs out through the full length of the moderator. So for instance, this one is a 5 baffle moderator. This is slightly different makeup from these ones, but it's the same kind of system. Now, what also a moderator does is controls the recoil and muzzle flip of your rifle. So the bigger your rifle, the more muzzle flip you're going to get. But even on the small rim fires, you will get slight muzzle flip. That means that you're going to controlling how the barrel moves when you're taking a shot. It allows you to have a better follow-up target acquisition, whether you're on the range or whether you're out hunting. It also allows for a more comfortable shooting as well, because, so for instance, if you're shooting a 270, your recoil and your muzzle flip can be quite dramatic for some people. Bigger calibers, obviously, the bigger the caliber, the more dramatic it becomes, and you will feel all that pressure coming back onto your shoulder. With the suppressor or the moderator, sound moderator, we have that controls all of those pressures and reduces your recoil and makes the rifle more controllable at the muzzle end, so you're not getting that jerk when you take the shot. And again, that kind of muzzle flip will determine the size of the caliber. So if you're shooting a rim fire, your muzzle flip's going to minute, but you're still going to get that little pop, even showing firing subsonics, and you might get a little bit of a recoil. the further you go up into your 22 cals or into your 6mm, and then after that to your 6.8s, 6.5s to 6.8s, and then to your 7mm and so on. As you go up those stages, your muzzle flip increases, your also recoil increases, and these moderators controls that. It makes for a more pleasant, a pleasant shooting experience. The other thing it does is, as it says, is it reduces the sound, which is also a big deal because when you're out hunting and you're in enclosed areas or even on the range and you're shooting multiple shots or whatever, it's not just about concealing where you are slightly, because these don't fully conceal where you are. What they do is reduces the noise, surrounding noise for disturbance, but it also helps you to protect your hearing, because if you're shooting multiple shots in a hunting scenario where you've got no ear defenders or anything like that, you can pretty much get concussion from just the sound, and you will do a heck of a lot of damage to your hearing. And this does reduce the decibel levels considerably compared to having a muzzle on and a muzzle off. Now, I might do a video later on to show you the difference of what, say for instance, the Sound Moderator is like on the 270, which I have. I tend to have Stalins on my 270 and 6.5. I have a DPD, this one's from my 223, that is that I put on the 223, and I've got an ATEC on. This is the ATEC for my 243, and this one is a SAC moderator, which are very kind of inexpensive for my rimfires. And on both my rimfires, or all my rimfires, I've got SAC, except from one of my 22LRs has got a Parker Hale. I didn't take it off, and they've all kind of the examples of the different style of moderator. I've got a couple of bayonet ones here, and I've got a full reflex one that slides over the barrel. They also run a different baffle system. So a moderator works how it, this is quite a crude one because this is SAC. What it does is it create, to displace those gases within the moderator, the baffle is either made up cone shaped, or in this way it's circular, or on this one is more of a kind of flat based multi-baffle system where the chambers determine how the gas is displaced. You can actually get them drilled in the side. This one, I can't take it apart, but this one has got cones in it, and this one is also got cones in it. Now, if it's a canicular design, the the angle of the cone makes a difference. So for like say in this one, which is a ATEC moderator, the cone will be around about 60 degrees, and that tends to be the industry standard for the best balance between sound moderation and noise moderation. Sound moderation and pressure moderation. So the more shallower the cone is for the degrees of the cone, like on one of these, because that is kind of canicular, but it's actually got it more drilled. The more shallow it is, the better it is for sound. The more deeper it is, the better it is for muzzle flash and location identity. I hope I've got that the right way around. But to be fair, if you're in it, you have to give, the more shallow you get from the 60 degrees, or the more deeper you get from the 60 degrees, you're compromising either on sound or muzzle flash or muzzle flip or gas suppression. So the actual, although that this is always kind of deemed as being called a silencer, it's not a silencer as such. It is actually a gas suppression device, and it goes on the end of your rifle. as I said about the muzzle flip, it controls the muzzle flip. It controls, it helps with you protecting your hearing, so it's a health and safety item. It also can improve your shooting so that you are not becoming recoil shy, or anticipating that recoil. It allows you to come down into your prone position or your shooting position, wherever you're shooting from, and not think about that recoil every time you take a shot. And that is one of the biggest reasons why some people who could be potentially very good shooters find themselves not being good shooters, because they're always anticipating that recoil. They're not enjoying that experience, that recoil experience, or the shooting experience, because of the recoil. So they flinch. They either flinch to the left or right, depending on if they're left or right-handed. And this is where you will get problems with groupings and accuracy and whatnot. And people then start forgetting, well, maybe I could fix that by putting a moderator on my rifle, or changing the moderator of my rifle, and they start looking at the more expensive items such as scopes. The average price of a moderator can run between £20 for your little sack moderators for your rimfires, to £400–500. There's lots of places in between. ATEC are usually quite reasonable, around about £250–300. But these devices can be, they never really top out more than £500. So compare this, that could be your problem with your shooting, to a scope price, for instance. You could really find yourself saving yourself a bit of money. It could be your moderator that is your problem in regards to accuracy and how you feel with the rifle. Different lengths, different size, different weights also affect the balance of the rifle. Lightweight is always better. The lighter the better. Material, they run from iron ones to cast iron ones to titanium ones, and carbon fiber ones, standard steel ones. They come in very different, many forms, and sometimes, like with the DPD, they combine the forms. There's a titanium baffle on a standard steel tube. The tube itself is basically the holding device, but it can also, as you see from the DPD, can be actually the moderator as well. It can be combined into the actual baffle system that turns into a tube. Like this one is, the baffles are set into the tube. There's been lots of designs over the years that have changed the style of them, but weight is a big issue. Length is an issue. Like the weight of these two are roughly about the same, but you can see this goes on a 6mm, this goes on a 6.5. Genuinely can get ATECs, the same size ones, that are rated for 6.5, and they're the exact same. The general rule of thumb is to try and match your rated moderator to your rifle caliber. So this is a thing that I noticed with the ATEC. Now, I had a 30 cal ATEC moderator on my rifle, on my 243, and I was getting a lot of noise. The grouping was fine, everything was fine, the speeds were fine and whatever, but I was getting a lot of noise. I was getting a bit of recoil, and the 243's not got a huge recoil, as anybody knows. It's quite a standard, everyday caliber. But I was fine. I was getting a little bit sharper recoil on my lighter rifle, because it is a lighter rifle with a longer barrel. It's a 26-inch barrel I've got on my 243. So I got a bit of advice off one of my friends in America, and they said, well, what is your moderator rated at? And I'm like, never thought about it before, because I bought it with a 30 cal, you know? And so I went and swapped that out for a 6.5 rated moderator, because I couldn't get a 6mm moderated, and it works perfect. I mean, the speeds are the same. It was a completely different rifle, but the speeds were the same, the accuracy was the exact same, but shooting it Sound-wise, you could hear it, you could feel it in the recoil, you could feel it in the muzzle flip, and that is the difference it made just by replacing this little £200 item. And I went in for a like for like. So your moderator could be could change your rifle completely. If you don't have a moderator, I suggest getting one and trying shooting your rifle, especially if you've got a problematic rifle that you don't feel comfortable all the time. Changing the moderator could be a big difference. Now, some people say it's an absolute hassle to change a moderator. It's getting a lot easier in the UK. We tend to be a little bit better in the UK than other places. In America, for instance, and in some countries, even in Europe, moderators and suppressors are actually illegal because they have this belief that they see in Hollywood that it makes your rifle completely silent. Anybody who hunts knows that these do not make your rifle silent. So maybe the 22LR makes it a little bit silent, but with the bigger calibers, it far from makes it silent. You can still hear it. You can still get a rapport from the rifle. Don't get me wrong, the rapport doesn't travel as far. I've been in scenarios where I have shot close to houses and close to caravans. Even my crofter lived in a caravan, never even realised I'd taken a shot on a stag that the crofter needed me to do management on their ground. They were getting a lot of deer coming in, and I shot a stag, and I thought, oh God, that's a little bit close to the caravan. He never heard a thing. Never heard a thing. And that is the good thing about these, is it doesn't allow your noise and your rapport from the rifle to carry, but the noise is still there. If you're standing next to me, it's still bloody loud, you know, you still feel it. And you can feel the pressure as well if you're standing close enough. The pressure of the gases coming out the moderator, especially in scenarios where you're shooting off the bonnet of a car, or you're shooting in a confined area and you've got somebody close by. They can feel the pressures, they can hear it, and so it isn't silent. So a lot of these countries believe that it makes your rifle silent. It doesn't. It makes your rifle more controllable and more usable for the user. In regards to silence, in a way, it doesn't really change the immediate silence around someone. So some states in America and some countries in Europe, etc., have made these completely illegal. However, in the UK, it is licensed. It is classed as a firearm. It's an addition to your firearm when you apply for, if you're applying for your first firearm certificate and you apply for a rifle, whatever that caliber is, apply immediately from a moderator. A good firearms inquiries officer will actually suggest it because it is a health and safety item. It's not against the safety of other people. It's your health and safety that these are for your hearing. And hearing loss is a big thing in the UK. So I'm glad that the UK government and the Scottish government, whatever, still allow these to be used. In fact, it's getting easier to be able to do these because firearms inquiries officers are now just putting on 223 moderators. So for instance, you can go and get a like for like instead of having to go and ask for a variation every time you wanted to replace your moderator. And in fact, these are consumables. Unlike your barrel life, these will not last as long as your barrel in many cases. These will, if you shoot a heck of a lot, these will blow out, the baffles will get damaged, and you will see accuracy issues. And this brings me down to the downsides of some of these. The longer your moderator, the more you're stacking up what is the travel of the bullet. So this fits onto your rifle, onto your barrel, and that's an extension to your barrel. So say you've got, which is a fashionable 20-inch barrel on a 223, right? You screw that on, you're adding length to your barrel, but in that you're not adding solid length to your barrel. So it's not increasing your barrel length as such. What you're doing is you're shooting into this container, and at each point the gases are being displaced as you go through the container. Each baffle that will doesn't necessarily slow the bullet down, but it slows the gases down that propels the bullets. Now, if there is an alignment issue anywhere on your moderator, that can cause those gases to be displaced unevenly, which will create your bullet to tumble slightly or to move slightly. So your bullet's not coming out through straight, it'll start coming out at an angle. And this is where you'll start getting what I call a baffle clip, where you'll start getting damage on the barrel side of your baffle. So for instance, on this one, there's a hole. You'll start getting damage on the edges of those holes and getting a lot of wear as the bullet is going through, passes it through, because it's clipping that. And in some cases, you can hear that clip. You can hear a ting as you're shooting, and that could be bullet clip. Now, that all goes down to bullet size as well. I have, I think it was a Hornady GMX bullet that I used in my 270 a way back, and I was trying out new loads and stuff, and I got told about these, I think it was GMX, or they were a longer Hornady bullet anyway, from what I was using at the time, and I think I was using SSTs at the time. And I didn't read the recommendations for these bullets before I tried them. I just thought 130 grain bullet, I'll try them. It gave me all my powder recipes and stuff like that. They were well within your within my parameters. And then I started getting this tinging noise as it was leaving my rifle, and I was wondering what that is. And then at the time I had a T8 moderator, which is like a solid steel moderator. You can't separate them, can't clean them, can't do much with them. And then I was getting huge accuracy issues. I ran a bore scope down my moderator, and I noticed that inside the moderator, the baffle was getting absolutely wrecked. And I totally wrecked the moderator, and if I'd carried on using it without actually being aware of this, it would have blown at some point and caused a bit of damage, maybe to the crown or maybe to my threads. In fact, I think I did land up with a bit of crown and thread damage, so I had to get it shortened, which totally messed up the dynamics of the rifle. However, thankfully I replaced that, and then I did a bit of research, and the bullet itself wasn't designed to be shot through a moderated rifle. The bullet was too long for being used with what the Americans called the suppressor. So I was like, I won't use that bullet again. But the damage and the accuracy issues that I was having beyond the initial test load, this is when we were talking hunting scenarios after I did the initial test load, was all down to the moderator. Now, again, if the moderators are not tight or maintained properly, many you're not supposed to clean, like the SAC one, they do say do not clean, but you will get, in the SAC one, for instance, you will get a build-up of what looks like cement round, if you're firing lots of 2.2 LR, and that will start affecting the shape of the baffles. It will also start affecting the channel that the bullet passes through as it's going through. Now, through these little baffles here, if they clog up, that is going to change the dynamic and the sound and the suppression of the gases in there, and that's going to affect accuracy. The other thing about it is because these are come in different materials, right? The more modern moderators like the DPD here, and the Stalin here, they are pretty much, their threads are made of usually quite good quality steel. The SAC moderators, again, it's a mild steel, but because you've got your gun barrel and your moderator screw thread might be a different metal, or a different type of metal, or even a kind of different metal consistency mix, what will happen is you'll get corrosion between there, and that again, that can affect not just being able to remove the moderator, but it can also create problems with your crown and your thread, which then again, if that adds that corrosion on, you will find that you'll get accuracy issues. So your moderator could be a problem for that as well. How I kind of combat that is every time I take my moderator off, change my moderator, or maintain my moderator, or check the moderator, or clean the barrel, because you don't clean the barrel with the moderator on, I add a really fine layer, not a huge layer, some people pack it, of gun grease. And it's pretty inexpensive, what's that, £4. A little bit of Bisley gun grease that I use. I quite like this stuff. It's kind of grey in colour, and this is great for my moderators. And I never get stuck moderators. Moderators have got a habit of self-tightening, and they get so tight that you can't get off. Hence why I can't get the baffles separated on these. I haven't taken them off in a while because I don't really clean it that way. I have a quick look through to see if there's any debris or anything in there, but it's usually quite clean. So I run a bore scope through it as well, so I don't really bother about taking them apart so often. These baffled ones I do take apart, give them a quick wipe round. I will also grease around the threads for each baffle as well to make it easier for it to come off. The ATEC ones are so cheap that I just really don't care about them. But I never have a problem with them getting stuck or corrosion around my crowns. Anybody will tell you I do very little maintenance on my rifles, and I use them every single day. But that is also the reason why I don't have as many problems as other people, because I use my rifles every day. We have this thing in the everywhere. As shooters, you will get some shooters who will genuinely only bring their rifle out when they decide to go for a hunting trip. I know guys who have maybe shot their rifle 4 times in a year. Twice to shoot a deer and twice to zero before going out and shooting a deer. But they sit there and they clean their rifles religiously and they maintain them religiously. Now, over cleaning can actually do just as much damage, especially to moderators, because if you're over cleaning, especially on the crown, what will happen is the cleaning solutions will start lingering inside your moderator, and these will cause issues. So I probably missed a heck of a lot in regards to the moderators. I'll recap what I've said. That there's different styles. You have bayonet style, reflex style. You've got ones that have got internal baffles, as well as ones who have got individual baffles. You have different shapes of baffles. You have drilled out ones, cone shaped ones, flatter chamber ones. They all do the same job. They basically displace gas. Accuracy issues could be down to your moderator over your other factors. When I've got an accuracy issue from a rifle that is genuinely quite accurate most of the time, I don't start at the bullet. I start at the cleaning process. I give my barrel a good clean. I check the crown and the threads on my barrel, and then I have a quick look at my moderator, and if I can, and like some of these are interchangeable with different calibers, I will swap over the moderator and see if that makes a difference. Like for the 243, I will also check my mounts and my scope and my other parts. But genuinely, it's not the scope that's at fault. It's something else it's causing the problem for the inaccuracy, and it's usually down to cleaning. So check your barrel first. But the moderator, do not ignore your moderator. Many people will take this off, they'll screw it off the barrel, they'll put it aside, they'll leave that aside, and then they'll start scrubbing the hell out of their rifle. The actions will be, oh, beautiful clean. Your bolt will be slipping nicely. You've retorqued all the screws on your scope, and you stick the moderator back on, and you are, all the screws on your scope mounts. You stick the moderator back on, it's still shooting like crap. And you go, oh, well, I've got a £5,000 scope, or a £2,000 scope, or even a £1,000 scope on. Oh, I'm going to have to replace the scope. So you go and buy a new scope, because that's what us shooters do. And then we slap another scope on, we torque it all up, the rings are fine, it's still shooting bad. And you go, oh, well, it must be the ammo. Start messing with the ammo, so change the ammo, and it doesn't really improve. And then they say, oh, well, I'll need to get more new scope mounts, another new scope mounts. And the whole time, they haven't looked down, done a simple, with their eyes, look down to the light to see if there's any breakages on the edges of the baffles, any disruption in there, or even just run a bloody brush down it, you know, a cleaning brush down it, just to see, to take away any excess powder or whatever. Just bear in mind the stuff that comes out of these, the gases and the cement and the dust and everything, is quite toxic. So just bear that in mind that's why a lot of manufacturers say don't clean them, just replace them. But genuinely, you can, if you're in a well ventilated area, take any soot or whatever's out in there. It could be it's just the pressure's changing slightly inside your moderator. So, albeit something that has been missed or been kind of ignored, it's quite an important piece of equipment. As I said, in the UK, it's a little bit easier to get these than elsewhere. You don't have a 6-month wait or anything. If you've got a rifle, you can genuinely go and say, look, can I get a variation for get a moderator for my rifle? And most firearms departments will actually be quite happy that you've asked for that, because obviously for health and safety reasons, noise disturbance, that sort of stuff. There is still a lot of myths and beliefs about these things, but they are genuinely another component that helps you. It doesn't do anything for anybody else other than reduces your kind of reduces your noise in the area that you are, but it doesn't reduce it to the point that you're completely unheard. So bear that in mind. It's not a silencer as such, although Maxim, when he invented these, he called them silencers. So it is the actual right name for them. I don't know what else I could add to this in regards to moderators. Just keep them maintained. Go for the moderator that is a rating that is as close to your caliber as possible. Like this is a 6.5 rated moderator. I wouldn't have put a 30 cal rated moderator, although I could get one fitted. Oh, the one thing is that genuinely you have to go for the right thread that is on your rifle. So check your manufacturer, what your thread is. Go to a good gunsmith. They'll be able to count your threads, and they'll be able to tell you if if it's a 1/18 or 1/14 or whatever thread or whatever it is, could be imperial. So they do come in different threads, but make sure that matches up to the thread. Make sure these are tight when in use. If these are as much as a quarter turn loose, it will affect your accuracy and could damage your rifle. So just make sure that these are tight when in use. One thing to check, if you are getting a few drifters and you're out in the range, check and see if the moderator, sorry, I had a hiccup there. Check and see if the moderator is loose. This could make and break a rifle. So bear in mind, do not ignore your suppressor, moderator, can, silencer, whatever you want to call it. Do not ignore this essential piece of equipment that is going to improve your shooting immensely, but also, well, improve your shooting experience immensely, but also could, if poorly managed, or if the wrong moderator, or if there's a damaged moderator. I always buy these new. Try not to buy them second hand. I've made a few decisions where I made bought them second hand with, but they're from trusted people that I know haven't barely used them. They were brand new at the time, and pretty much try and buy these new. Don't buy them second hand because you don't know what issues you've got. Okay. Anyway, hopefully this helps. A little bit informative video, and I will speak to you soon. Have a good one. Stay safe. Happy hunting.